Adventures of Sonic, Episode 57, Roadhog. Sonic's super speed somehow alters a billboard, and for once there's consequences because, oh never mind, the policeman is only after Sonic for running too fast, rather than for something remotely realistic. There's no other cars he could be endangering. He tries to fine the hero of the world so much money that he'd have to go to the judge. The judge says he doesn't care who Sonic is, and puts Sonic on a chain gang for 30 days, putting him in hard labor. This episode's absolute shit. Nobody would ever treat Sonic like that. He's the hero of the world, and they clearly need him. Sonic runs around and ties up the criminals, and he's given another 10 days on the chain gang. It's not like he injured anyone. Who cares if he does that? I wish he could get away with murdering this guy. Then they have to deal with a character who smells terrible to them. It took until I read TV tropes for me to learn that he was a skunk, because unlike Jeffrey, he looks nothing like one. And for some reason they don't all get away from him immediately when he smells like that. Someone stole from him and put him in the chain gang. He blows some pollen saying that it does funny things to people's minds, and somehow the pollen brainwashes Tails into acting like a chicken. How does this episode have only one thumbs down? Conveniently, the idiot has an antidote for some reason, even though he's trapped on a chain gang. And Sonic, the hero of the world, is given another 10 days when he didn't do anything wrong. I would only forgive this episode if it turned out that the policeman and the judge and the asshole running the chain gang were all working for Robotnik. That's the only way this would make sense.
He's got the guards under the pollen spell.
Robotnik plans to use the brainwashing pollen to take over Mobius, and Scratch ends up getting Robotnik brainwashed to act like a dog. Scratch says excitedly that now they can turn Robotnik into anything. Oh, somehow he transforms into a literal walrus. And something else as well with an elephant trunk. This pollen gave us no indication that it would shapeshift people. The antidote gets on Robotnik, and he throws them into something to tear them apart. I guess Scratch's CPU is in his beak, since he's able to talk with the beak separated from his body. Tails says that he can take advantage of the antidote, and Sonic spins it to the ground, bringing everyone on the chain gang into the ground. He goes up through another hole, ties up the worthless guards, and puts an antidote on them. It turns out they were all put into a trance, and Robotnik, who somehow they didn't recognize on sight when they saw him, was the one who put them up to everything. That doesn't make up for shit because we still have the policeman fining Sonic for running and not driving, and the judge sentencing him to a chain gang. All for doing something he does as his trademark. This episode's shit. Sonic shows up to confront Robotnik, and the villains raise their arms. The robots take forever to understand Robotnik's signal, and Sonic just stands there like a worthless moron and something spills golden liquid on him. That liquid is actually the pollen, as Robotnik tells Sonic he's an ordinary slow-mo. This was insultingly easy for Robotnik because he just stood there like an idiot for no reason. And why does Sonic have to have a really annoying voice, even more than usual, just because he's brainwashed? Why doesn't Robotnik use the pollen on everyone? Why hasn't he done that by now? Like, you'd think pollen like this would be world famous. As Tails works with the guy who makes the perfume antidote, Scratch drives a truck after Sonic, who is running slowly, and yet is still outrunning the truck. That's how fast he is, apparently. He trips and screams, but no way to actually get hit by it. Good. Tails saves him. Fortunately, the heroes figure out what happened to Sonic, but because the episode needs padding, Tails dropped the antidote like a worthless idiot, and it was destroyed by a rolling vehicle. I can't help but be so bitterly cynical when the show has an episode that flat out sucks. This is treating me like a complete idiot. If it weren't for the dumb music padding in Sonic Underground, I would rather be watching that right now. Some juice is poured on Sonic by bikers, and that magically makes him start acting awesome again without the antidote.
Juice? Sure, I can juice.
He spins around to create a tornado, sends a burger into the mouth of one biker, and puts stuff in their faces, and a criminal wants to turn Sonic over and make him gone.
Gone? I can do that.
Sonic rides his motorcycle and flings him away, all because the criminal said up, over, and gone. But he wasn't outright told to do that. Tails says that Sonic's back to normal for no reason, and the bikers he tormented admire him and want him to be the leader of their gang. But they're not afraid of him, or at least they're not showing it very well. So apparently he scared them into obedience? Oh good, so Tails was wrong, as Sonic becomes the leader of the biker gang because he's still brainwashed.
Let's hit the road, Halls.
Why couldn't the episode have started here? I'd love to see more of Scourge. Robotnik brainwashes some people, and I wish he got a whole city that way for episodes to come to be a hateful threat, as we see that all Scratch has to do is talk over a megaphone to do this.
Let's tear up this town.
He spin dashes into the ground towards the policeman. Considering one of those assholes arrested Sonic for running fast, yeah, I don't blame him at all. Sonic should at least have some kind of leniency. That's common sense. Then before we could see more of this biker Sonic concept, he's brainwashed with pollen again. Tails puts on a gas mask and plugs the ears of the biker gang so they can't hear Scratch's annoying voice, and also his brainwashing message. Then Tails tells Sonic who he is, brainwashing him back to normal and explaining everything. Sonic spin dashes to get all of their earplugs off rather than take their heads off like would actually happen with the spinning spines going around them. He brainwashes them to help him fight Robotnik. He's really not that different from Robotnik then, because he has no problem using people and taking advantage of them to get what he wants, even with brainwashing. Like there wasn't even a second's worth of hesitation.
Won't let Robotnik take over Mobius. You will help Sonic the Hedgehog.
We are now a gang of good hogs. We won't let Robotnik take over Mobius. We will help Sonic the Hedgehog.
The bikers put police sirens on top of their heads. I guess they stole them. And Scratch accidentally tells one of them to use a chainsaw on his tire, sending him and his truck away. I thought that Scratch would have immediately brainwashed the bikers because they're still under the effects of the pollen, and they don't have earplugs on. This is dumb. Just because Sonic's the protagonist, his Gary Stu powers activated and made his brainwashing more powerful than Scratch's. Then Sonic taunts Robotnik, wasting time in a rocking chair and avoiding his pollen as it's shot at him. He grabs the needle away, jumps, and Robotnik grabs it and accidentally flings it to pop the blimp they were apparently on. Tails catches Sonic. Good, I thought he would catch Robotnik and annoyingly save him. Meanwhile, Robotnik falls into a shallow purple marsh, somehow survives, and gets chased by a talking snake thing. Then in Sonic Says, Tails is grabbed by Scratch and Grounder and calls for the police, and somehow I'm expected to believe that the robots would actually run away from a policeman. Worst robots ever. Sonic then tries to have me believe that the moral of the episode was that police can be relied on. When the start of the episode had a policeman fine Sonic an obnoxious amount of money for running like he normally does and force him to join a chain gang with the judge giving him an obnoxious sentencing that apparently can get extended over and over by the people running the thing. And the fact that they're brainwashed doesn't excuse it because the policeman and judge weren't brainwashed themselves. That's basically my opinion of the episode right there. Fuck that beginning.
I don't care who you are.
That got me on a really sour note right away. That's issue 40 territory. Why would they treat Sonic the hero of the world that way? Do they not want him to fight Robotnik for them? The worst part is that I think they could have cut that beginning out and just started with Sonic being brainwashed by Pollen to join a biker gang and spent the whole episode like that instead of just tearing apart one police car. Which, because of that horrible beginning, I absolutely loved seeing. Which I don't think was the intention. The whole episode could have simply been about Robotnik brainwashing people and Sonic being a biker until the antidote gets sprayed at everyone. Which, I wasn't shown the people Robotnik brainwashed getting the antidote thanks to Tails. I never saw that. So shouldn't they still be on his side? No? We're just gonna ignore that? Fuck this episode. Or I guess fuck the beginning, and how much missed potential it had. And another missed opportunity with this episode. Why the hell didn't Robotnik brainwash Sonic to beat up Tails and do evil things to ruin his reputation, instead of just brainwashing him to be easier to kill? That was stupid. The beginning is basically the issue 40 of the show, and it makes issue 39 and 40 look justified. Because at least there, Sonic's friends were assuming that Sonic got himself roboticized thinking he'd keep his free will, and then he destroyed Knothole. Compare that to Sonic getting arrested and put on hard labor for running. This guy should have been roboticized. I bet that it was a slow week for him arrest-wise, and he only betrayed Sonic to fill a quota. And he never gets what he deserves, and neither does the judge. Sonic said that running away from the police guy would be illegal, and he's sure the judge will be fair. And he just looks like an idiot who is imparting a totally wrong and diluted message to Tails, while Tails looks like the way smarter one, saying they should have run from him. And that's a problem because Tails is supposed to be portrayed as wrong here, and he's supposed to be a moron in the show, so I was supposed to disagree with him. The whole writing was just tone-deaf and lazy. This was the laziest excuse to get Sonic into a chain gang ever. He could have just stumbled upon them while he was running. This episode makes issue 40 of Archie look good. Whatever happened to Sonic's sentencing anyways? That's another instance of negative continuity because the judge sentenced Sonic to a chain gang and that plot thread just vanishes.